because of nervousness, because the best of the best from the Faculty of English is all here today. So great. I'm going to draw inspiration from your presence here and, you know, jump right in. So here I go. Let me, sir, could you enable the screen sharing for me?
You can share, you can share.
Thank you. It still says it's disabled.
Just try once, ma'am. Just try once.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So right there. Yes, here we go. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, great. So we'll begin from here and we'll take it this way. So it says integrating art in the teaching of English. I think it's only fair to say that I've mapped it to the school level. Okay, this doesn't go beyond K-12, right? So my name's Ruchi Sengar, nothing of great importance there. What you need to know that I am eager to learn as much as you are. So it's going to be great if I get some solid inputs later when we have some time for discussion. According to my watch, it's 5:07 and I've been told to take 25 minutes. So we are going to, so it's a race to the finish, but we'll attempt the best we can.
Yes,
yeah?
thank you.
Okay, here we go. So in the context of the latest CBSE circulars, what do these mean? CBE, EL, AE, AIL. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much of time getting interactive because we have a lot of ground to cover. So CBE, I'm sure everybody knows, it's competency-based education. EL is experiential learning. AE is art education, and AIL, which is what we are here for today, is art integrated learning. Okay, so it's an integration of art in learning. Now the topic says that art integrated learning in English, not math. No offense, Mathews, sir, not math, not science, but English. Okay, so before I proceed further, what is it that constitutes English or teaching of English is something that I want everyone to sort of get their head wrapped around. And while we are doing that, let's deal with some very basic stuff. Why integrate art? I'm sure everybody has read the art manual issued by the NCERT, by the CBSE. We all know the details. This is just going to summarize all of that for you. Here you go, makes learning joyful. I'm not going to parrot what you see on the slides, except when I feel that, yes, it definitely is of some kind of importance. And then you have shift from rote methods, very, very important. Okay, the pink one develops multidisciplinary links. When we come to the art integrated project, I'm going to come back to this one. Art-based inquiry, very important. Why? Because it inculcates respect for culture and heritage. It's all around us. We just take it for granted. And that is not so great for the development of someone's personality. Yes? Whatever I've just summarized is what you can see over here. It's fairly prosaic. Don't worry, whatever I have shown you here is what this says over here. Moving on, CBSE has also clarified that we have to use art as a teaching tool. Let's not get ourselves tied up in knots saying that, okay, we need to grab the art teacher. I call dibs on the art teacher. No, that's not the case. What you really need to know is that you need to use it as a teaching tool, just like any other aid, except that earlier we were using it as a supplement. Now it complements your teaching, because that's what we mean by integration, okay? So it's to be used as a tool, and then we need to accept arts as a medium of the learning process. Why? Because it aids visualization, joyful learning, yada, 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 whatever I showed you earlier, okay? So what is teaching of English really? I've had a lot of people tell me that it's prose, poetry, grammar, etc. For me, it boils down to just this. Everything else is subsumed in just this. All the 4 skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills, is for me English. Your chapters, your poems, etc. are just the vehicle to transact these skills. Our course, especially in 9th and 10th, and therefore the washback, is language and literature. So let's not forget the language part. So if you listen correctly, you speak correctly, and hence you read correctly, and then you write correctly, not the way it is transacted in most schools in our country. The basis is just reading and reading and writing, more or less writing, okay? Because we are teaching to the test. So art, have a look at all of this. My favorite is makeup, paintings, nail art, packaging, okay? Greeting cards, photography, jewelry. Did we ever consider this? Most of us are habitual of just doing maybe a dance, a music, role play, skits, drama. That's quite a favorite, okay? But teaching of English art can be integrated in several ways when we are teaching English, and I'm going to show that to you, okay? So music, dance, theater, visuals, and craft is what art would constitute, and let's move on. So it's listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and I am going to map all the art integration to these 4 skills. So we make it practical for you to use in the classroom. So let's begin with listening. Have a look at this one. So what form of art do you think this is? Of course, it's cartoons. This can be taken from Hindu, okay? So now, don't lose sight of the objective. The objective is teaching of English. The objective is not teaching art. It's teaching of English, and you're just using art as a tool because it connects us to the real world. So it's authentic resource. It's a realia, okay? So cartoons. And have a look at this. You will listen to a woman talk about an incident at home during the lockdown. So I just took a random cartoon, okay? And I get to decide what is the kind of task I want to create for my kids. As you listen, arrange the following events in sequence of occurrence. Look at the events. So obviously you can ask your kids, who do you think is Venkat? Is it one of the children or is it the adult? Obviously, when they read this, they will tell you it's the adult. Let them have a look at the cartoon. Let them read these points. And then you go on to say whatever you want to say. I'm sure everybody knows how to create a little story or an anecdote. I could do that, but we have paucity of time. So we are not going to get into that. This is just to tell you that you're using cartoons. Not just this. Have a look at the next one. Look at these. So you have this cartoon. Let me get the highlighter going. Laser pointer. Yeah. So look at this. I've already shown you this. Look at number 2, 3. All of them are different. So you probably ask the child, point out a point of difference and similarity in all 3. So you're not really asking them to tell you, but you are making them think along the lines. And then you give them a question like this. You will listen to a boy talk about 3 different cartoons, match the cartoon to the creator. Always remember, you need one extra name so that there is no guesswork happening. So there's an extra cartoonist. Supposing I would say this particular cartoonist creates cartoons which are tall and thin and specifically has pointed nose and chin. And this particular cartoon is Shankar. So obviously they will match 2 with A, right? And after something like this, you please go on to do a character sketch. It's brilliant, okay? Or show them how to describe a picture, depends. You can even do it in class 3, class 4. It's not just meant for secondary classes and so on and so forth, right? So remember, we are still at listening skills. Go on to the next one. Now, I said that CBSE recommends that you do a bit of complementing of art. So you're integrating, hence they need to know a little bit about what you did. Do not lecture, it never works. So you could have questions like this for them, you know, and so they get to know a bit more. Look at this. Why do you think a cartoon is more effective than a narration to tell a joke or make a point? Obviously, they'll say, ma'am, because it's more visual. Yes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. All right. You will listen to a boy giving instructions to create a rangoli. Art, we are integrating art and we are doing listening. So let's not forget, I'm going to remind you at every juncture what the skill is. Okay. So as you listen, join the dots. Some have been done for you. So some have been done for you. And your instructions would be something like, look at this one, 2, 19, 20. Draw a straight line across 2, 19, and 20. So what is the child listening to? It's specific listening. The child is listening to those particular words. And as you go on, the child creates something like this. And then probably you go on to talk about this. Never in a boring manner. You need to sort of, get it out of them, make them think. So you would say, look, Rangoli is practiced in these particular zones of our country, and it is known by several names. Okay. So all you have to do is ask the children to try and match. And of course, you show the answers or write the answers or share the answers. It's entirely up to you, right? So we've done Rangoli as art. We've done cartoon. We are still on listening. So how would you use instrumental music? I would say that for identifying musical instruments, you are playing the audio and you help them identify the musical instruments. The tone and mood of a poem, it's one of my favorite tools. Linkages to natural elements, desert storm, or you have the monsoon music and so on and so forth. And the genres of music, of course, like jazz and so on and so forth. I have an example for you. One of my favorite music composers of the modern times, Tushar Lal. So you have like your regular original Titanic theme, and then you have Tushar Lal's arrangement of the Titanic theme. I wish I could make you hear all this, but then paucity of time. So you could create a question like this. You will listen to blah, blah, blah. As you listen, choose 4 statements that are true to the second piece, which would be Tushar's piece. And then let them listen. And then tick. So you are making them listen for inference also. They need to predict, they need to connect. Plus it is detailed listening. They'll get the hang of it. Okay. And they'll enjoy it. And in your lesson plan, you write that you've used art. Okay. Another one of my favorites, Lisa Gerrard. Beautiful. I'm sure most of us remember the movie Gladiator. She's created her own language, by the way. She's invented her own language. So none of the words she uses will make sense. Okay. And yet the music is gorgeous. Okay. She's an awardee, by the way. So you could have questions like this in your listening skills. Don't forget, teaching of English is what we are very, very focused on. Art is a tool. And you could have questions like this. So what else provides a resource base for listening tasks which are integrated with art? Very simple. Songs, poems, movie dialogues, interviews of artists talking about their craft, and look at the different kinds of artists. Makeup, hairstylists, fashion, handicrafts. The sky's the limit. Organizers of art and craft festivals. You could create all your listening tasks around this. Curators of museums. Have you imagined doing a debating thing about curators of museums? Art auctions, going once, going twice, sold to the gentleman in the white hat, and so on and so forth. Students studying in institutes of fashion, packagings, gems, jewelry, and their opinion. Remember the question about 5 people and their opinion and so on and so forth. Let's move on now to speaking, one of my favorite sections. What kind of question do you think we might, this is of course the Gond art. So what kind of questions do you think we might get in here for speaking? A lot of people said description, it lends itself to vocabulary, the colors, the lines, and so on and so forth. I would say similarities, comparing and contrasting, but this is speaking skills. You're just using art as a tool. So you definitely need to give them the functional language, which is going to be something like this. And then they go on to compose their sentences. Okay. So what about this? I swear, if they have an advertisement like this in modern times, the company will go bankrupt, honestly speaking. Train her to be an ideal housewife. So Why is this art? Because this is vintage advertisement. So if the children are younger, you could definitely go in for the erstwhile Cadbury ads and so on and so forth. And what kind of question do you think for speaking can you generate out of this art form? I would say expressing an opinion. Obviously, the functional language has to be in place for that. You, of course, have like a plethora of videos and movies that you can call art, especially if they are black and white movies or animations and so on and so forth. One of my favorite short movie, an award-winning movie. Now, they've seen the video, so you've integrated art, but let's not forget its speaking skills. So what do? We make them talk. We give them a kind of scaffolding or a boundary in which they will speak. Now, this is exactly what you do. The only thing you have to do now is to take the art form and integrate it to fulfill this particular role. Cards, greeting cards, okay? What kind of conversation or talk or speaking skill? How is mom like the flower, like the leaf, like the petals, like the stem? You're generating similes, okay? You make them talk about this particular art. Mother's Day, they can sit and make a card like this if they want. Okay, any flower that is absolutely honoring your mother and make you feel that your mother is like that flower. Why? So on and so forth. The creative output is exactly entirely yours. I'm just giving you suggestions for the speaking part, okay? Look at this, another art form, logos. Did we ever consider that? What kind of speaking would they do for this? They would have to analyze this and say, why has this company chosen this particular logo? Why is this for the Puma? Why Volvo? Why does it have this symbol? I mean, I would say it's quite a bias gender-wise. Why this symbol? Okay, does it show the inversion of peace, or why the colors? So the language, always the language. We are simply integrating art, but the objective is teaching speaking. Okay. What about this? Product label design. Product label design is art. Okay, ask the children to guess. What product do you think it is? Why do you think it is? They look at the cucumber, they look at the flowers, they'll probably look at the colors. Is it herbal or otherwise? And the language is definitely assuming or guessing or putting across their perspective. We are still on speaking. Look at this. Storytelling. We love doing this with art. However, let's not forget the scaffolding has to be given. Look at this. If the child is supposed to speak, support the child. Okay, please support the child. Okay, let's have a look at this one. This is also shadow puppets, but the video says this is how you would create a shadow theater. So my question is, what would you ask the students to speak about if they've seen a video like this? So the language is sequencing. Right? And you have ensured that this, I think somebody needs to mute their microphone. Yeah, thank you. Let's move on to reading. So I'm not going to talk about texts because you use art very, very efficiently when it comes to the thematic pre-reading or post-reading element of your text. Let's show you the comprehension passage types, you know, the kind that you give them for practice. So I've taken something about nail art. So I've integrated art, okay? And what have I been able to do with it? Have a look. I'm just going to give you 10, 12 seconds. Just skim, please, okay? Yeah. So what have I been able to do? The very, very efficient comprehension check. You're masters at that. Then I've asked them to underline words like this, and I've done transition words with them, okay? Not only that, that little piece, I could do passive voice also with them. I could do vocabulary with them. And then I did a critical thinking question also with them. who is likely to use base color and acetone? Airtel, Cadbury, Adidas, Nerolac. Obviously, if they're going to think really quick, they'll answer Nerolac, right? Because it's acetone and it's base color. You could do a multi, cross-curricular